Hey, Dan O'Day here, and I asked all of my Facebook friends and followers and people randomly on the street if they could answer a trivia question that I've been asking radio people for years, and so far no one has been able to correctly answer it. And the question is, who was the youngest person ever to have a top 10 record on Billboard's Hot 100? And this is not a trick question. In other words, it wasn't somebody singing under a different name. It wasn't someone singing as part of a group. It was a solo singer singing under the performer's name, and no one has been able to answer it correctly. So I figured we'd make this quick video to reveal the answer and introduce you to the gentleman who, at the age of 7, I guess it was 7, we'll ask him in a moment. I think he was 6 when he recorded it and 7 when it was released, had a top 10 record, and the record was entitled I'm Gettin' Nuttin' for Christmas, which I can sing verbatim, and the singer was Barry Gordon. Hey, Barry.
Hey, Dan, how you doing?
You know, you haven't changed a bit since you recorded that song. That's
well, I'm certainly not much taller, but I'm older.
That's amazing. I got a number of questions to ask you about this. Well, one is that I didn't know until recently that a lot of radio stations apparently play that each year, oddly, around Christmas time.
No, they do.
And I learned that when I mentioned that song to somebody who was, 30 or something, and they said, "Oh yeah. Well, how do you know that?" And they said, "Well, every Christmas." So let's see. You were a child actor. Is this? Yeah. And we have not rehearsed any of this, as I believe will become evident very soon.
Yes, I think so.
Somewhere in my memory is the factoid that you first went on stage something like at the age of 6 months or 3 months. Am I thinking?
No. I might have gone on stage the first time at around 2.
Okay, so that is still really young. So but in my mind,
really, things didn't really start until I was about 3 years old.
Well, I think the impressive thing, because you're very modest, and of course this is Barry Gordon again, and Barry's very modest. What he's not saying is it was a Broadway production, and it was a one-man show that he did at the age of 2. Did you write that, by the way? Or
yeah, I wrote it. I did the music, the costumes. It was really, really great costumes.
It's amazing. And right now, a lot of people are recognizing. Some are recognizing your face. I don't understand when people will see your face and they'll say, "Oh my God, Barry Gordon," from all those years ago when you were a kid, because you look a little older.
Old. Yeah. Yes.
A wee bit. But I know that happens. But I also know that when people hear your name, there are like three or four different cohorts that react quite favorably. The first is, you mean from the Jack Benny show? To which the correct answer, of course, is you mean the Jack Benny program.
One time I played Jack Benny as a boy. That was the first one I did. Then I played the agent. And then I did an interesting one that's kind of gotten lost. I haven't had a chance to see it in a while. But it's a school. It's supposed to be an elementary school in Beverly Hills that decides to do the Jack Benny show with all kids. And so I was the kid Jack, and then there was a kid Mary Livingston, and a kid Rochester, and a kid Mel Blanc, and a kid Dennis Day. And he supposedly comes to the show, and so it was. So it was fun. It was fun to do, but it's one that I haven't been able to find again. And actually, it was kind of my favorite of the 3 because all the kids were just really terrific.
It's frustrated me because I know you played Jack Benny as a boy, but whenever I've looked for a video clip, the only thing I could find is you playing the agent. So
that's the one. Yeah, I think that's the one that's most out there.
Yeah, you were really good. Almost all child actors are not really acting. Up until the age of 8 or so, most children can repeat a line just the way you give it to them.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I was older than 8 when I did Jack Benny. I was, I think, 9 or 10 when I did Jack Benny.
Oh, well, then I got to take away the credit.
You
then.
Take it all back, yes.
Yeah. No, but so, and that's why there are so many child actors who, were big stars until they turned 9 or 10 or something, and then kind of disappeared because they were kids who had been reciting lines and they were cute, but they weren't actors. And
well, the training was very different then. It's interesting today. You can't tell the difference between a lot of young actors and a lot of adult actors. You really can't, because the training is very much the same.
Aren't the young actors like a lot smaller than the adults?
They are smaller. Yes, they have. They definitely are. They have fewer wrinkles. And
it should be a giveaway. I mean, I'm surprised you didn't spot that.
Giveaway. But what I mean is in terms of acting styles. They're really trained in the same way. And so the adult approach to acting and the young approach to acting is the same. In those days, it wasn't. It was their parents that really kind of took on the responsibility. And what they would do is take the script and read a line and then say, okay, now you say it.
Right.
And my father had a very different approach. Now, and with him, it was totally instinctive. I mean, he knew nothing about the method or Stanislavski or any of that. But instinctively, even starting to when I was a kid just singing and when I wasn't actually doing acting parts, and when I would sing a song, he would say, well, you can't sing a song unless you feel a song. You can't sing a song unless you understand what it's about and feel something about what it is. At 3 or 4, when you're singing a love song, you have nothing to base it on whatsoever.
So if you're 3 or 4 years old and you're singing I Want Your Sex, you might not quite know how to...
No, I didn't sing I Want Your Sex, but I definitely sang a song called Cry, which was a big hit in the early 50s by a gentleman named Johnny Ray. The lyric is, if your sweetheart sends a letter of goodbye, I mean, so how do I know what that is? So my father helped me use my imagination to kind of understand what those songs were about. That continued when I started acting, where he would basically go over a script with me and say, well, if you were in that situation, how would you feel? Mm. That's a very different approach than a lot of kid actors were doing at that time. And what he didn't understand is that it was the approach that was being taken by the actor studio, by, a lot of professionals that were coming up at that time, like Brando and so forth, where how you felt about something became very important.
From where did your father gain that insight?
From his mind.
What was your dad doing for a living when he was?
Well, he was a radio announcer and part-time disc jockey in Albany, New York, at WPTR, and the singers that he loved were the singers with great emotion. Then he would bring home their records, and I would listen to those records from the time I could remember anything. I think I was listening to them, padded to sleep to them, even before I was a year old. So I started singing kind of in my crib, which surprised a lot of people because I could actually carry a rough tune. And
plus you were 12 years old when you did the singing in the crib. That's why they were surprised. But
my secret's out. What can I say?
Yeah, I mean, the way you tell it sounds impressive. But
yeah. So when I did Jack Benny and when I did those things, my approach was always a little bit different.
So let's back up. You were a singer before you were an actor, correct?
Yeah.
How did you become a professional singer? What was your first gig?
Well, anybody familiar with American Idol or in an older generation, Star Search, there was a show, first of all, on radio in the 30s, 40s, and then it moved to television. It was originally, in its first iteration, it was called the Major Bowes Amateur Hour. Major Bowes would have these people come on from, who were just amateurs and perform. And they would win prizes and that was basically what it was. And then a man named Ted Mack took it over. And when he took it over, a little while after he took it over, it went to television. And it was called the Ted Mack Amateur Hour. And they would go, just like The Voice does, or American Idol, they would go around the country and have auditions. Mm-hmm. So they had auditions in what was called the Tri-City area, which was Albany, Schenectady, and Troy.
One great thing about this country of ours is no matter what state you're in, there's a Tri-City area.
That's very true.
Always like that.
This one was in upstate New York. So I think it was a neighbor who submitted me to this Tri-City audition. And so we got some kind of notification. Look, I'm 3. I don't have a perfect memory of all of this. But we got some kind of notification that I'd been selected to go and audition. Mm-hmm. And my parents were like, what's this all about? And they told me about it. And I said, yeah, I want to go and do that. And so my dad took me down. And the first thing that happened was they said, you really should be leaving your child at home when you audition. And
I hope you said that's not a child, that's my father.
No, I wasn't that sharp. So my father said, he's the one that's auditioning. So I stood on a chair and I sang Cry.
Oh, wow.
And I got on the national show. Did not win. I came in, I think, second, but I did not win. But I was seen by a man who was a personal manager and had this show called Star Time out of New York City, where he would feature kid performers from the age of, at that time, 8 to, like 18. One of the stars from that program went on to become a very significant record artist named Connie Francis.
Yeah.
And he managed Connie Francis. And so he started to manage me, and I went on the show, and I was the youngest at 4 years old, and that's how I became a professional.
So you turned pro at the age of 4.
Yeah.
How did I'm Gettin' Nuttin' for Christmas come about?
I started to do a lot of variety shows. A lot of shows at that time were these live variety shows, like the Milton Berle show, the Jackie Gleason show, the Perry Como show. And I did all of those shows. They'd have me come on and I'd sing, and I'd usually do a sketch. And that got me into acting a little bit. I would do a comedic sketch and sing.
Yeah, well, doing sketches with Milton Berle and Jackie Gleason, I can't imagine how that would teach you anything.
Yeah, you learn a lot, and I think that's why I was ready for Benny a few years later, because it was I really was learning from these people as I went, and then at one point when I did the Milton Berle show. Because I did that a couple of times. One with Elvis Presley, which was really exciting.
Really?
But yeah. When Milton Berle did Elvis Presley, I was on that show. In fact, it opens where he introduces Elvis Presley and I come on with a guitar. One of the guests on the show that I was on was an orchestra leader named Art Mooney, and Art Mooney had done these kind of novelty records. So he had hit records. Okay. And he had a Christmas song that he needed a vocalist for. And when we did the show, he basically came up to my manager and said, that's who I want to do the Christmas song. And that's how I ended up doing Nuttin' for Christmas.
So just one day you were told, okay, have your parents take you to the studio to record a song? Is that pretty much it?
Pretty much it, yeah.
So I'm Gettin' Nuttin' for Christmas. And by the way, I know the B-side. The B-side of that is Santa Claus looks just like Daddy.
That's correct, yes.
Right? Walks like Daddy, talks like Daddy, has the same brown eyes.
Yeah.
You were 6 when you recorded it, 7 when it charted, was released. So that record, I'm Getting Nuttin' for Christmas, both back then and over the years, has sold millions of copies. So I'm going to guess that your royalties on it are several $100,000. Is that pretty close?
Oh, that's such a good guess. Yeah, I got $50 for that.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
I got $50.
50?
For recording that. Because when I recorded it, it was Art Mooney's record. So they were just looking for a vocalist. So I just got paid as a vocalist and got $50, and that was it. And I think he built 2 hotels in Florida off of it, but I know that he made a lot of money. But I got an MGM contract and, sold. I didn't have anywhere near as big a hit after that, but I had a couple of records that charted and on the 100, but I didn't really, it didn't really happen after that. And after that, I did a movie where I sang and acted, but the song was cut out, so I was just an actor in that movie. And then I did a television show where I sang and acted, and then after that, I just acted, and I never sang on television again.
So your first pure acting role wasn't singing and dancing and wasn't doing sketches. What was that?
Well, the first real acting role did involve singing. It was the film, which was became kind of a cult, iconic.
Oh, I think I know what
rock and roll film called The Girl Can't Help.
I was about to say, I think I know what you're going to say. I saw that movie when it was released, and I've never seen it on television. I know it's been on TV, but I saw it when it was released, and that's it. And I was a tiny kid. But my memory tells me that you played a newsboy and that you whistled at Jayne Mansfield.
Yes, I did.
Okay. There's a bunch of stuff I want to ask you about acting, actually. But since the hook that got people here was the record, let's see if I can think of anything else that's music related. I didn't know until 10 years ago that you had a whole bunch of albums as a kid. Barry Gordon Sings the Standards or something like that. Yeah, I
had albums, yeah.
How did those do?
Nowhere. Nothing.
Okay, so anyone who has one, it's a collector's item, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because no, they didn't go anywhere. I mean, every once in a while, I'll meet someone and they'll have an album and they'll bring it. Would you sign this? Like at a Comic-Con or something, they'll bring it in and I'll say, oh my God, now that's a fan.
You say at Comic-Con, are you saying that you would pay? You're a fan and you would pay to go to Comic-Con? Is that why you're there?
No, you know why I'm there. I had the great fortune of doing a voice for the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon series, which I did for about 10 years.
And you were?
Donatello. And so every once in a while they get the old guys together, the old band, the original 4, and we go to Comic-Cons and meet the fans, meet folks.
Cool. Just before we turn the video camera on here, I jotted down a couple of notes. I'm pretty sure that you are the only person in the world who can claim to have performed on the Jack Benny program on television, on Alfred Hitchcock Presents, on Leave It to Beaver, and on Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I know I'm leaving out a whole bunch of stuff, but that's...
I don't know. I don't know. We'd have to go back and look at everyone that was in the Jack Benny show.
Okay. Here's the deal. Everybody in the business watches the videos on my page. So if you're watching and you did all those, make a comment. But I don't think so, Barry. I think you're the only one. And in one, you did 2 Alfred Hitchcocks, and one of them, I'll think of his name after you say it, and he became a famous director.
Sidney Pollack. Little known trivia fact. The other Alfred Hitchcock I did.
Yeah.
I also had a co-star, and that was Christopher Walken's brother.
Well, why didn't you say that in the first place? We could have opened with that.
Glenn Walken. Yes.
Talk about burying the
wonderful.
lead.
I don't know if he was his older brother or his younger brother.
What do you remember about working with Jack Benny in terms of, do you have any memories personally, like how he talked to you or what the set was like or how the people were?
He was fantastic. Kind. Everyone on that show was fantastic. Mel Blanc was wonderful to work with. And he was on set most of the time, and they all were. They were just genuinely good folk. So
I mentioned you are known to several distinct cohorts. One is, and cohort I believe means group of people with something in common, but it sounds impressive.
Yeah, that's absolutely what it means. Yeah.
And so one cohort is people who, I'm getting Nuttin for Christmas and or having seen you as a little child singing, and the next cohort is that adorable child actor, especially on the Jack Benny program. And then another cohort, you got to move forward a decade or so. Another cohort absolutely loves you because you did both the play and the film version of 1,000 Clowns. And do you want me to mention that when you were 13, you were nominated for a Tony?
Sure.
Okay.
Go
when
ahead.
Barry was 13, he was nominated for a Tony. And did you win?
No.
Oh. Well, I'm sorry. Hate to end on a downer here.
I didn't win. Otherwise, you would have said when he was 13, Barry won a Tony. But you said I was nominated, which kind of implies that I did not win.
And I don't know the answer to this. Do you know who did win? I assume
Yes.
you do.
Yes, Alan Arkin.
Okay.
For Enter Laughing.
By Carl Reiner's first play.
By Carl Reiner.
Okay, losing out. So basically, what you're saying is you came in second to Alan Arkin. That's how you deliver that.
Well, I don't know that because 5 people were nominated.
But no one can prove otherwise. So just go with it.
Okay.
Just
All
go with that story. I've always thought Jason Robards was a phenomenal actor.
Agreed.
And you were did the play on Broadway and the movie, so you spent a lot of time working with him. Did he ever talk to you about acting? Did he ever give you advice? Anything?
I was trying to think of that the other day. He really didn't. I don't really recall him doing that. I just kind of recall us acting together, spending a lot of time together, talking about baseball, talking about movies, enjoying each other a lot. We got very, very close in doing that show, but I don't recall that he talked to me or really anyone about acting.
I just want to remind people that gentleman is Barry Gordon, and Barry, whether he likes it or not, is the answer to my trivia question. Who was the youngest singer ever to have a top 10 record on the Billboard charts? And it was released when he was 7, and it was I'm Gettin' Nuttin for Christmas. And I guess let's just end on maybe just one last question. So you became the youngest person ever to have a top 10 record on Billboard. Do you think you'll ever achieve that again?
No.
Okay. Just had to ask.
Miss Gordon, will you please send in Jimmy's agent?
This way, sir.
You're Jimmy's agent?
Yes, sir. The name is Harry Johnson.
How do you do, Mr. Johnson?
You sit over there. I'll take over now.
Isn't he cute? Well, Mr. Johnson.
Now, Mr. Benny, I understand you want to use my client on one of your television shows.
That's right. That's right, I do. He's supposed to play me as a little boy. And now, you being his agent, what do you think I should pay him? What do you think would be a fair salary?
$2,000.
$2,000?
still think I'm cute. Don't stand there bleeding. Say something.
Wait a minute. I think $2,000 is a lot of money.
Well, he's been in television all his life.
All his life.
I was born on the medic program.
I still think that $2,000 is too much money.
Well, that's his salary. You know, these kids can't live on lollipops.
Well, now, wait a minute. Now, in the first place, I don't think the part is big enough to pay $2,000.
Well, while you're thinking, do you mind if I look over the clauses in the contract?
No, I got it here somewhere. Let's see. Oh, here.
Thank you.
There it is, right there. What's the matter?
Same old legal mumbo-jumbo. Now, Mr. Benny, I'd like to add a few things to this contract.
Yeah?
Anytime my client rehearses for over 4 hours, I want him paid time and a half.
Time and a
And
half?
should rehearsal go beyond 6 o'clock, then you have to pay for his dinner.
What are you talking?
Also taxi fare to and from the studio.
Now, wait a minute. First, you want $2,000 for this kid's appearance. Then you want me to pay overtime, and then his food, and his taxi bill. Well, let me tell you something. You're the most grasping, greedy, conniving, miserly person I've ever met.
Well,